What's up, everybody? Come program with me. So we've got Sunday coming up. Today's Tuesday. And every week we do what's called Weekender. And that would be tomorrow. So this is a little bit of a rare thing. Is there's actually a set list, and we're going to. There's always a set list, but we have it. We have a little bit early, so I'm going to turn you around, and I'm just going to walk through just what I do when I'm getting ready for, like just programming the console. So a couple things. Weekend is our Weekender executor page. So we have like masters and just other events that we can cycle through. But this is our main weekend page. And I've done a few videos of like walking through how this is all laid out. So go check those out. But this is last week's, right? So we're just going to delete all of those. And then now we basically have all of our, so we have doors, graphics, which are like our welcome, front wash, all that kind of stuff. So we got all the stuff is on. House, which we do full bowl, which we're actually not in show mode. So let's go ahead and go into show mode. So now we got, which show mode just puts the console in control of the house and work lights. Or show works rather. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna set you back over here, back over yonder, and we got the haze on and everything, so that should be rolling here pretty soon. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and look up the old set list. So we've got new thing coming. How we have this laid out is, and if anybody has, put it in the chat. So in 2, we were able to, you had sheet view of your sequence pool. And there is no longer a sheet option. So, and this is something that is like super annoying to me, is having to keep an alphabetical order of all of our sequences, whereas the sheet view just automatically did that. So if anybody knows a better way to just do that instead of having to alphabetize everything, that would be super helpful. Alphabetize everything manually. Let me specify that. So we got new thing coming. We're going to assign that. We've got, hold on, I don't think this is the right weekend. No, it is. Do it again. New thing coming, ending. Oh, I think it's like a little tag. Oh, it is a little tag. And then we've got I was but God. I was but God, which is somewhere on here. Might be in a different area. There we go. I was but God. Here we go. And then we have I know a name. I know a name. Oh, I know a name recording, because we did it different for recording. And then there's something about that name. I'm betting that is potentially a tag, because then we have all of a sudden, which all of a sudden I don't believe is actually programmed with this design. It is not. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change that to no good. So something that I do that it's one of those things where I just kind of do it out of habit. I need to get out of it. Is I will, so like new thing coming, as we can see, is no good. But a lot of these I will change to no good until we do them really for Weekender. And then I will change them to green, but I kind of forget that sometimes. So the other thing is we use commands on the first cue. So if you notice when I fire new thing coming, it goes on and goes back off. That's because in the command line, on the first cue, it's actually offing itself, off 207. Since it's the first song, we're going to do off 206. I know off on overwritten. With the amount of lights that come in and out of here, sometimes there's a rogue information in some of these cues, and off on overwritten doesn't always work. Whereas if I do a command line off on the sequence before it, it works every time. I'm a big fan of consistency and reliability in that regard. So we got a new thing coming. As we can see, it is definitely not good. So there's going to be some changes we're going to make there. This is going to be a long video, by the way, so strap in. So we've got, so yeah, let's just start with new thing coming. I like to kill house lights. And I'm just going to kind of talk out loud what I'm doing. So right off the bat, the solos, too bright. So I just kind of like to eliminate things and kind of get it down to something that's a little bit more manageable, and then I'll add back in what I need to. The other thing we notice is the part of the 640s aren't working, or not working. They're not on. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn those off as well. And our Diablos are also kind of funny. We're going to turn those on and see what they're doing. Yeah, they're being super weird. And so we're going to do that, and then we're going to get all the beams in the same. All we're doing is really just sort of instituting a little bit of order into our queue. I do want to check something because I know we've done new thing coming, and I wonder if it was done by another programmer. I don't see it, so yeah, I think this is, oh no, it was done. It was done. Because I kind of want to spend time on All of a Sudden, because that is, so the last song, the last song is our broadcast song. So yeah, this one's definitely been done. That looks pretty good. Is kind of the, I don't want to say the most important, but it's our broadcast song, and it's when we kind of are all linked up together. And so that one is, we just want to spend a little bit more time on to make sure it's dialed. So we're just going to bump through this and just see what we got, see what we're working with. That's pretty good. A phrase that I use a lot is the bones are there, and that is just the overall look is strong, and as I'm bumping through this, its look is all over the place. So yeah, we're gonna sort of just rinse and repeat what I said earlier. So 660s, we're gonna turn those off. Whittling it down, solos, we're gonna turn those off. Basically to its, not really its foundation, but we're kind of whittling it back, and then we're going to build the looks back up. So I kind of fixate on a particular fixture. So right now we're working on the solos. And we're just going to essentially remove them from everything. I'm just going cue by cue. So something you can also do is I can do delete twice, which gives me a remove command. And I'm going to hit solos. And then I'm going to, actually, hold on, that didn't work. I don't know why. Solos. So I'm going to select the fixture, delete remove, because I want to remove dimmer information. And then sermon. So the way our cue stacks are, so the first cue is a mark cue. So we have, it's labeled mark and then the BPM of the song. And that's just for me to reference to make sure all my phasers are all locked in timing wise. And then not on every song, but a lot of songs we have a last cue. It's called sermon or end. And what that does is it basically pulls out our side conventional fixtures, and it might pull down the overall intensity of like just the look on stage, because that's when pastor or whoever's speaking that weekend is coming out, and we kind of hold on that last look until we transition into the sermon scene. And so sermon or end is kind of that cue that makes sure everything's looking good for that particular moment in the worship experience. So I'm going to go ahead and pull solos out again. And what I should have done, delete, remove, dimmer. The reason why you want to do that is because I think I have tracking here. Is so when I select the solos, under my dimmer, see how it's like changing from, there's some dimmer information there. Oh, that's Diablos. Link type selected. That's what I want. Interesting. But I have the solo selected. That's weird. So it should have only been showing me solos, which I believe is what I have there. So under dimmer here, I don't know if you might not be able to see it, it's constantly changing between like cyan and magenta. And all that's saying is like, hey, there's new information, and you want that information, basically you want everything to be this cyan color, I believe, or the magenta color rather, because that means it's tracking through. So like if this said 50 and it was cyan, it means it's getting new information, which you have, like these go up to 75, but you don't want the same values to be added multiple times. So that's where adding or just removing information if it's the same versus if they're off, I don't need to tell them to be off again, if that makes sense, because it's just creating more work for you when you're trying to do stuff like this and clean it up and everything. Great, so we have that. We're going to turn off our 155s, and we're going to turn off our quantums, which looks like we have the lens on as well. And something I'm also going to do is I'm basically going to strip everything back. And sort of rebuild this. Something that I also will do is, since this particular sequence doesn't have the quantum profiles in, I kind of did a rig rundown, so but I'm going to briefly go of like what everything does and what we have. These quantum profiles are like a utility fixture, and I don't believe we have choir this weekend, so I'm going to turn off the choir profiles, but I'm going to open up I'm going to zoom it out, and then I also like to rack the focus, and I like to rack the focus to 0. It just kind of softens it up. They're pretty close to the same, but it just gives it it just softens it up. That's the only reason for that. And then I'll go ahead and turn them down a little bit. I'm also going to kill our key light. So you can kind of see the band is there. It's 20%. Bring them up to about 50%. Great. Now what we're going to do is work on our Diablos. So we're just going to look at those, see what they're doing. And as you can see, they're all kind of wherever. We're going to just bring those into a position preset that we've built. We're going to bounce through. We see some of them are moving, which we don't want. So we're going to remove that. So select the fixtures, hit delete twice, gives us a remove, hit position, update please. And now that information is tracking through. There's also some focus tracking. I'm just going to, yeah, we'll just do this. Delete, remove, select all of them, update please. So what that does is that just removes any information from one scene to the next. So all of the information, all the programming from the Diablos from Q1 is tracking into Q2. So we don't have any programming changes there. So we're just going to, something that I do is I will just basically work on one fixture type, and this is a way slowed down process. A lot of times I do this really fast because sometimes I'm trying to program and just get it done. But I'm going to take my time today. So we're working on the Diablos, and we're just going through queue by queue. And we're just trying to remove any residual information that is not tracking from one to the next. The other thing you can do, so I'm kind of removing and storing. What you can do, so the 155's popped on, I don't want to deal with those. So I can just turn the group master down. Same with the SL bars. I don't want to deal with those either. So I'm just going to turn those off. I'm going to turn our bowl lights off as well. I just want to really be focusing on the Diablos. So we're going to keep moving, and then also the quantums popped on. We're going to deal with those later. So something you can also do is you can do a remove command and remove Q2 through, remove everything. But I kind of want to see, because I don't really remember the dynamics of the song. And so there's stuff like that where I go, okay, they're coming out, got it. And then, so I'll check the position, which that's not the accurate position, so it's pulling some raw data or some hard values. But essentially it's coming out into the crowd. So what we're going to do is just still kind of fall into that and do, basically realign the position. Something that we also noticed is there's some dimmer information that didn't carry over or didn't track through. So we're going to remove that. And just to cover our bases on the focus, we're going to remove any focus information as well. So those popped on or popped open again. So we've got this on the turn. We've got bridge, things are moving. Select our fixtures. I don't want anything doing anything. We're just going to remove all of the information into bridge 1. So nothing changes. Same deal for bridge 2. This vamp, there is a movement there, but we'll get into it. I'm going to remove that as well. I think we'll do something for sure, but I just don't quite know what it is. And then same with this vamp. I'm going to delete all movement information. There is dimmer going on. We're going to go ahead and stomp that as well. And then we're going to delete, not delete, we're going to remove. We got some phasers we got to stomp out here. Interesting. Do that. Man, this just does not want to. There we go. So let me go from verse 2. Vamp. There is something changing, but I think it's another fixture. Yeah, it's the quantums. Bridge building. We got a nice little fly in. It looks like there's some fixtures that aren't doing it. Yeah, there's a few that aren't. What we're going to do, this is just what I've learned, is just stomp the effect. We'll just kind of make a mental note of that. We also don't want anything to move, we want to kind of keep the same instrumental. Don't want anything moving again. Down. So for this down look, we are going to leave everything on, but we're going to bring everything down, like physically pointing them down. And we're going to look at that, and then we're going to remove any sort of focus information. Great. And I don't know if I want that particular preset. I think I'm going to just go straight down. That looks nice. Great. And then we've got whatever this is. I don't quite know what that's doing. But yeah, we're going to remove all that information. I don't really know what that's doing. So I'm just going to make sure that's the same. And then we have sermon, which again, don't want anything moving there. But what we will want to do is, let me just confirm that. What we will want to do is, just a safe bet is to just turn off, on the sermon cue, turn off the Diablos. Because we are in a gobo, we may not keep the gobo, we may keep it, I'm not sure. But what it does is by killing the sermon, or killing the Diablos, or the gobo rather, it helps us more easily transition into sermon. Because what we can do is we can, when we kill it, we can put a delay on there and release the gobo. That's just an option that we have later. And then if we go into something else, some sort of flow moment, we can do spot full or whatever, and we have like the full light. It's a different thing. What you do have to be aware of is if you come back, if you just go back, it's going to want to recycle back to the gobo. So you just got to be aware of that. But I'm not really telling you what to do or what not to do. It's just you have to think about it. Something to think about, something to process, something to just be aware of. You got to think through these transitions. Great. So I think we're good on Diablos. So what we're going to do is we're going to ditch that, and let's work on the quantums. So we have them off here, pretty much off until chorus. Fine. What we're going to do is we're going to give me all of them. Oh, they're doing a little phaser. Yeah, we're going to stomp that. But yeah, give me all of those. Give me all of these. Ah, yes. Those are not in it. Great. So let's look at what color we got going on here. Dust red. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Q1. And we're going to go to dust red. Grab our mains. We're going to put them in a position. Update, please. And then let's actually open the focus up all the way. Make sure that's actually doing what I want. So we're going to turn those down. And let's see what we got in the chorus. Hopefully that tracks through. So for whatever reason, when we program this, there's these two quantums that just haven't tracked through. So we've got to go through and just add them back in. Some of them we've got some our repairs back. So some of the programming is just not there for them. And we could do a couple of different things. We can clone, or we can write a macro that does fixture add or whatever, which I happen to have, which ain't there. Interesting. I had it there, and now it's not there. Backset, 4 strobe, add, 125, add, macro. Oh, this is it. It's fixture. Yeah. I got that. Anyway. So quantums add in the chorus. They come down there. See what we're doing there. Yeah, we could do something like that. Let's just stomp that for now. Vamp, they're coming out to the crowd, straight crowd. And what we're going to do, because I do want this to be a little punchier, let's do 10%. Because it's out in the crowd just for now. And then bridge building. I see that. I see that. I see that. Let's go ahead and stomp that for now. Because I just want to make sure my... So something that I do in my process is basically invest in the look, and then we'll focus on color, and then we'll focus on dynamics, supporting the song. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of bringing everything back to that step one. I'm really trying to intentionally focus on like making sure all of my looks are consistent. All of my main looks are consistent. And so some of this, I don't really know like what's happening too much there. Delete, remove, update that. I see, okay. And so, yeah, I'm just ensuring all of my main looks are, again, consistent and dialed in. Those are good there. Probably just because I'm off center. And then I'm going to go through and really work on positions and dynamics. Excuse me, not positions, but dynamics, things like that. Yeah, I want to keep that wide out. Great. So let's roll our Diablos back in. And then in the chorus, yeah, we've got our quantums in. Can kind of turn those down potentially. The something to note, the haze is on, but the HVAC is not, and so the haze is kind of going to do whatever it wants. And I do have a fan on it, but we're just not going to get these nice clean beams. And that's okay. Like I'm not really stressing over haze distribution. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking through, making sure my foundational investing in the look is working out. There's no crazy weird changes that are super distracting or is inconsistent from one to the next. We're just getting these looks built. So like this down look, the quantums are quite hefty. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to turn the outer and middle rings off, and then maybe bring the mains down to about 10%. Because when we add our 155s back, I believe they're on, it's going to give us something nice there. Great. So we're going to go into our first cue. Let's ditch our quantums and our stage, and we're going to bring the 150, or excuse me, yeah, let's work on the 155s. Because they don't really come in until verse 2. And they have a nice subtle dimmer effect on them. So on the turn, they come down quite a bit. Bridge build. That works. Yep. Like that. This down. So yeah, this down look again with the quantums here. So I think what I'm going to want to do is have the quantums do that as well. Kind of match the 155 energy, and then kind of comes down. Yeah, we'll have to sort that out. Maybe what we'll do actually. Maybe what we'll do there. Let's just remove that information. Do that so that way here kind of goes to here, and then we'll try to match the intensity a little bit as close as we can. Maybe the 155s can come up a bit. We'll have to match color a little bit more, but I kind of like that. I don't know. We'll roll with that for now. So we're kind of piecing our rig together here. And yeah, now we got to work on the 660s. So let's actually turn everything back off. Go to 660s, switch, turn those off. Great. So there is SL add. Here it is. Let's actually assign that to here. So I have this, so as we can see, the SL bars, there's a chunk of the downstage line that's missing. And what I like to do is this like gradient. Well, what if I just were to go, okay, fixture, fixture 1 at fixture 2 through 10 or whatever, it would just add it. Well, what I want is I don't want fixture 1, or excuse me, fixture 3. Let me walk that back. I don't want fixture 2 taking the same information as fixture 1. I want fixture 3 taking the same information as fixture 1, but I want fixture 2 taking the information, or fixture 4 taking the information from fixture 2, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to do this every other, and so that's how I wrote the macro, is so that I can make sure that when I hit the macro, that same pattern is followed as closely as possible. So we're going to go ahead and store and then refire this queue. Now it gets us pretty close. The phaser's, I think, running across the whole thing. I think the phaser needs some work. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually stop that phaser. And bring the color. Oh, the color should be in it still. So yeah, we're gonna basically just make sure we don't have any like weird stuff happening. So let me add SLs. Yeah, so it's sometimes when you add things and you have phasers running, it adds it funny. And you have to sort of go back and rebuild it a little bit. It is in sync, so it's kind of doing the same thing, but we want this sort of every other. So we're going to stomp that. Plus, I kind of want to redo that phaser anyway. Let's go ahead and add, update. So it is doing what we're wanting it to do. Down. Great. Something to note as well, which might be, yeah, right there. It's being delete, remove. Or here, let's do delete, remove, and select. Doesn't want to do it on the group for some reason. Great, sermon. Okay. So let's go ahead and add our stuff back in. So we can build these in silos. but it's also really good to look at everything in context. So when we go into the second verse, we've got the SLs adding back in, and so we already had it before, was like that kind of a gradient. So we're going to do that again, 10 through 65 through 10. Let's do that. Actually, let me reverse that, 65 through 10 through 65. And then do the same thing here, 65 through 10 through 65. Oops. Oops, 10 through 65. 10 through 65 through 10. Yeah, I like that. I like that better on those. Great, so we have this gradient, and I haven't actually listened, I don't have the song pulled up, but I wonder if I have it in my sounds. No, because I don't have the... but let's pull up, actually before we get there, let's keep going. Chorus, the turn. So we're going to look at the turn. We're going to look at this movement. So the Diablos are coming out into the crowd, and that's spread over 5 seconds. There's not actually any additional like specific timing information for position on the Diablos. And if I had to bet, yeah. So on this turn, what I want to do, you have a transition column, and we're going to set that to S curve, and we're going to just see the difference with that as it comes out, and then it kind of has this like ramp up and ramp down that looks a little bit better than just like start and stop. The other thing we're going to do, I think the 5 seconds on the actual cue is okay, but I want to change that movement, that position movement, to be a little bit longer. So I have my Diablos selected. I'm going to double tap the position attribute, and that's going to put all that position information into the programmer, the absolute information. Select fade. I'm going to double tap, or I'm going to tap the attribute again because I want to actually put fade time in there. And we're going to set that actually to 9. Also, make sure your link timing is set to feature. That's just right above the attribute. I'm going to set those both to 9. And then we're going to check that again. So now we have like a nice ramp up, we have a movement, and then we have a little bit of a ramp down. Looks really nice, over 9 seconds. Something that you can also do, so position, I'm going to go back to my fade time. And I always get this mixed up over which one does it. I also want to do a 2D grid and reselect, because I want to do a 1 second, 1 through 9 through 1. Update. Yeah, that's close. Let's actually do a fade back of 9 seconds. And we're actually going to do delay. And let's do 1 through 9 through 1. Oops. Through 1 on the delay. See what that looks like. Yeah, no, I don't want that at all. I think I did the wrong thing. 1 through 3 through 1. Actually, no. 1 through 5 through 1. Let's do that on the turn. I just don't want that fade to be so long. So let's do 3 through 9 through 3 on fade, and let's just remove delay time altogether. Yeah, that's closer. That's closer. It's just those outside ones are going too fast. So yeah, so let's say I want it to be actually a 5 second, 5 through 10 through 5. Let's do that. It just adds a little bit more dynamics as it kind of unfolds and comes out into the crowd, which is what I like. It feels like it's getting stuck because I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. So let's just check that one more time. I'll probably just fat fingered a value or something. Nice. So something that we can also do when we go into bridge is like when it kind of unfolds like that, sometimes it being static doesn't really do a whole lot. So we don't want much movement during the song, but when we go to this turn, our gobos right now, they're not rotating. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little rotation. That one's going bananas. Wonder why. Let's go ahead and do a remove, actually release on that and store Q1. What that's going to do, so see how they all did that? What that's going to do is it's basically going to reset that rotation and so hopefully when I do this, yep, that's what they're supposed to do. And then as we roll that value back, they're going to slow down. So, yeah, so we just want a little bit of a rotation. And then we're going to linearize this. I've got an MA trick to give me evens. So half of them are rotating one way, the other half we're going to have go the other way. So we get just some nice different, movements. And we're going to reset our matrix. We're going to update that. So now, when we go here, what we want is we don't want it to do that where it spins real fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our gobo in there, put the information back into it, and we're going to change our rotate to like 0 seconds because we just want it to start rotating as it comes out. So you don't really notice the rotation until it gets to the end, and now you've got some movement. The other thing that I like to do, and this is more of a audience comfort, because typically as a designer, if you've got like aerial effects coming out, you want those beams nice and crisp. For something like this, it's probably okay because it's moving slow enough. But what I like to do is just rack the focus a little bit, which it kind of already was. And so that way it kind of softens the edges so it's not so on and off when it's rotating in your eyes. And it doesn't really sacrifice on the overall look of everything in terms of getting those nice beams. And yeah, I wonder if we just go a little bit bigger on our zoom and kind of, change that focus just a bit. Yeah, that's nice. Great. See, this is coming along pretty good. So we've got our turn. We're going to go to our bridge. We've got some movement. We've got some rotation. Bridge 2. So all of a sudden, the bridge really kind of pops off. And which is why I kept the 155s really so I can reference it right now. So we have our BPM, which is 126, And what I'm going to want to do is on the quantum washes is I want to kind of mimic that, what the 155s are doing. So I don't need them like super bright. That's 50. Let's do 30. And then our second step, we're going to go down to 10. Actually, you know what? We're going to go down to 2. And then Matrix, we're going to do 0 through 360. And let's actually solo these just so I can see it a little bit better. And then I believe in our, no. The ramp up, I want it to pop on, or on the on value. So the first step, we're going to change our transition to, the other thing that I learned, so measure, I want to lock that into 1, so that way the speed doesn't change. And then transition, transition, I think that's good. And then our speed, transition, I'm going to basically roll that all the way down in the first step. Speed, we're going to go to 126 divided by 4, roundabouts. And then under Matrix, I like to do, let's do 4 groups, maybe 6 groups. Let's see what that looks like. Go back to 4. So we're going to update that. Let's see what this looks like with the 155s. So let me look at what the 155s are actually doing. Speed is 63, which half of 126. I think I know what the problem is. Let's look at speed. Yep, 126 divided by 2. Let's do that. There we go. They're just a little too slow. So now they're kind of working as one cohesive, they're all doing the same thing. And I think I also want to do that with, and let's turn off the Diablos. I also want to do that with the SL bars. So the reason why I do the first value, so my step 1, we're actually going to, let's, maybe not all the way. So my first step is where I want it to be. I just found that falls on the beat a lot better. So, they're going to do that. And I tried to almost, as much as I can, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to do this, is my low value, I don't ever want to go to 0. And some of that is like, just so there's always something on, regardless of what the dynamics are doing. Great, so let's go to phaser overall, speed, 126 divided by 2. We're going to Matrix. We're going to do 0 through 360 on our phase from X, phase to X. So now we've got this. The other thing that I'm starting to implement is locking my measure to 1. And now we're going to do, so if we do groups of 4 with the SL bars, you're going to get something like that. Because there's so many pixels. So what we need to do, because I don't want it to look like that, I want it to be a little bit more blocky. I'm going to go to my blocks, and let's just do 8 and see what that looks like. Let's go to, actually 8 looks pretty good. 8 looks pretty good. Let's just look at 4, just for, 4 also looks pretty good. Well, 5. Yeah, 5 might be good. So on our first step, we're going to roll that transition down to 0. But also in a matrix, because it's going this way, we have some options. We can do wings, and it's going to be this symmetrical effect, which fine. That's not a bad look. And if I wanted to change direction, I would change the phase from X to 360 and then change the phase 2 to 0. It's kind of doing that out, which I don't really want. Let's shuffle it. I don't like that. Yeah, let's roll with that. And then our speed, speed is set to 63. Okay, great. We're going to store that, bring everything back in. So now when we go to the bridge building, everything starts to do this, this like kind of stab cosine sort of ramp effect. Yeah, we'll roll with that. And then the instrumental, what are we doing here? Got it. So something that we want to do is, so we're going to select our quantums. We're going to double tap dimmer to put all that information in the programmer, and we're going to store that in Q13. So when we go to Q13, nothing changes as far as our quantums are concerned. But as you can see, the solos, it's a much softer dimmer. So instead of rebuilding a different phaser, I'm just going to throw my my dimmer into the programmer, and I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to soften it up, and I'm actually going to change the waveform to a true, like really a much softer curve, and I'm actually going to half the speed. So when we go from this like ramp kind of tacky effect, and we go in here, it's like a much softer movement. And same deal with the 155s, or excuse me, the SL bars. We're going to grab these, double tap. We're going to put them, store those back into this so it keeps it there. But what we're going to do is we are going to do 360, wings of 2, bring that transition back to 100. Also change that waveform. I wanted it to go the other way. My bad. So we're going to do that. And again, we're going to take that speed and we're going to half it and update. So now we've got this, into this like nice kind of softer, more flowy dimmer look. We're going to go down. Everything should still be doing what we want. The one, except the quantum washes, which is fine, but we do want them to continue. So what I've been doing is I've been going back to the instrumental, taking that dimmer effect, or taking that dimmer information and then storing it. So Q13, taking that information and storing it in Q14. Well, another way that I can do it is in Q14, I want it to track through. So I can select my quantum washes, hit delete twice, hit remove, go to dimmer, and then update that. And now that information from Q13 is tracking into Q14. So, which is largely what we want, I think. What I'm probably going to do, so that the 660s, I think I want that to continue, but it is way too fast, I believe, for like the vibes of the song. So we're going to just really slow that look down. And same, yeah, maybe not for, oh, I see what it did there. Got it. Yeah, we'll just do this speed, divide that by 4, update, and then grab that, delete, remove, dimmer. Interesting. Is it? Interesting. So it's being a little funny on what I'm asking it to do. So what I am going to do is just release it all together. Stomp it. Select them, delete, remove, dimmer, update, and then it should track fine. So yeah, sermon, and then for sermon, we actually want to stomp that all together. But what we want is we want to go back to this like gradient look. So what we're going to do is do this, store Q16. So now we kind of go back to this gradient look that might change, to be honest with you. I might either change that or I'll change this dimmer look. So what I might do with this to kind of fit the multiple celled ones is, so we're going to kind of rebuild this real quick. Wings of 2. We might actually do wings of 6 or 8. Yeah, we're going to do wings of 8. So that way, because we kind of go from this to here, which looks more cohesive. And then again, down, we're going to so stomp it, because that one's being so weird. Store Q14. Cool. So we have it tracking, but we're also going to slow it down. Speed, divide by 4. And now we have something that looks nice, and then also like when it stops, there's not a huge change. Nice. So here's our intro. Basically, this is the bulk of the song. Something we haven't touched at all is the solos. We're going to work on those next. So we're going to go in here. Solos are kind of our, they're in all the shots. So having them off isn't like, not doable, but it is something that I try to avoid as much as I can. So we're just going to play around with some colors here. Let's just roll with that. So that should track all the way through except where we turned it off. So then what we're going to do, delete, remove dimmer information, delete, remove dimmer, store Q12 through. So now it should stay all the way through. So with it being there on the upstage, and it's in pretty much all the camera shots, a gradient is fine. We can do something like what we have up top in terms of like matching color. Yeah, let's do that. Store Q1. So, but I think what I want to do is less gradient in terms of like a 20 through, or excuse me, 2 through 20 through 2. Less like full on gradient and more, instead of a gradient like that, I want more like almost a cosine effect. So what we're going to do there is we're going to grab our solos, and I've got this cosine random, which does that. It's crazy bright. And we're going to turn that down to 20. I think 20 is a solid. Let's do 30. And then same deal. This goes to 0, but we're going to change this to 2. Just so there's a little bit of a glow. And what we're going to do here is we're going to turn our speed to 0. So it stops it. And then a couple things we can do here is we can play with our transition and width. So let's set those both to, let's turn that, yeah, let's do something like that. That's kind of nice. Great, let's store that. So that gives us a static look. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do want a little bit of texture, a little bit of motion. So we're going to do 126 divided by 16. And that should give us what we're looking for. I think I'm going to bump this 2% on the low end, which is our step 1 on this one, to 5%. And then I think I'm actually going to bump this 30 up to 50. Nope. 40. Maybe 35. Yeah. Great. And this should track all the way through. So we have this constant motion happening there. We've got some motion that happens when we move the Diablos out and the gobos are rotating. When we get to this vamp, I kind of want the quantums to do that. That's looking good. So same deal for here. So we're going to take our solos. I'm just going to stomp the effect, or the phaser rather. I'm going to take my solos. We're going to do 50. Second, we're going to do probably 5. 360 on the from, 0 on the to. That's going to give us one way. And we're going to do the kind of the same deal. We're going to do probably 8. Let's solo these. 8 like that. But then we're going to do on our first step in our transition, also measure. Lock that to 1. Phaser steps. So we got that going on. And then we're going to do groups of 6. 4, and then do blocks of 5. Yeah. Great. And then now we need to lock our speed in, which is 126 divided by 2. Update. So now we've got this kind of good, nice look going on. Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do, because that does not, I think here, it's fine with the solos kind of having that texture, but here it doesn't make sense because the solos, or excuse me, the SL bars are in that like gradient. So what I think I want to do is just kind of match that same energy. Problem is, I don't have a vertical one made, so when I do my 2 through 50 through 2, it's going to be the whole thing, which I don't want. But what I can do, because it's already doing an effect, what we're going to do is dimmer. Just go ahead and throw that in the programmer. Set that to 0. Set our first step. Yeah, that can be 5. Or actually, our first step, no, I want to be on 55 maybe. And our second step, I want to be on 10. And then matrix, we're going to do 360 through 0. So again, that's going to give us that look. And then we're going to do wings of 8. And that's has a speed, it has a super slow speed. We're going to send that back to 35. Yeah, that's a little bit more balanced on brightness. Keep in mind, all of these colors and values, colors are going to change because we don't know what the visuals are going to look like. but also our brightness and everything might change just depending on how cameras look and what shots we're going for. But this is like, again, we're investing in the look, we're building a foundation, we're giving ourselves something to work on, or work with rather. So we got this look here. That look's going to continue on the solos. But what we want to do is we want to go back here, grab our solos, put that dimmer information, and store that in Q13. So it should do that, but what we do want to do is actually speed that up. Oops. 126 divided by 4. Might actually be too slow, or the SL's too fast. Yeah, you know what? Send it. 126 divided by 2. Let's do that. That's fine. Yeah, that'll work. And then down, change that speed back to 4, or back to 31.5, and then 35. Let's actually, take that all the way back down. I don't know why it's store Q15. And then solos, speed divided by 4. There we go. Nice. It's like I didn't think that value looked right. Great. And then once we get into our sermon, what we're going to do is we're going to change that speed to 0. We're going to stop that so we don't have really anything moving. So that's pretty good for what we need. Let's look at just one more thing. Let's look at our quantum profiles. So again, these are going to change with the visuals, but something that we have. So I don't know if on camera you can tell, or it might. Live, these quantum profiles, they look magenta. But because of our color balance and our white balance of our key light and everything, anything that is a lesser CRI and kind of a lesser quality of output is going to need to be this magenta color, because that actually on camera translates to white. So that's just something to note, and why I changed these quantum profiles and why it looks magenta, but on camera it's actually going to look white. So yeah, we're going to call that, at least for now, job done on All of a Sudden. I'm not going to play the song because of copyright. But check it out, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to music, All of a Sudden, check it out. Good song. Tune in Sunday. Cool. Yeah, we're just going to bump through. Everything else is pretty well programmed. This is I Know a Name. Shout out on this one, Santiago Gamba. He programmed I Know a Name and did an amazing job on it. So really happy with the way I Know a Name turned out. I Was But God looks really nice. Love the colors on it. I don't know what they're going to be visuals wise. This is a look I really, really love. I think our apprentice programmed this one. I don't know, maybe I programmed this one. I don't remember. But what I love about this particular look is why I like the design the way that it is I'm able to, like the Diablos, I can kind of push out and wide, and I can build these like really nice washy, and do cool like dimmer effects, color effects, and it just makes the space feel really nice. And then it's very great, very easy, very nice to do symmetrical effects. We gotta kind of tighten that one up so it's like a little bit more in sync. But I really love that, like that look. And same with the lines, like the SL bars and the solos. Just being able to do the same thing looks really nice, looks cohesive. Great. And the New Thing Coming. I think he's got that effect, that effect in particular. Yeah, as a zoom effect. So it's just a zoom fly out. Looks really nice. I like it. I like because it looks like raindrops. It kind of like looks like this, like raindrops are falling and stuff like that. It's just that's what it reminds me of. Another way to do that type of effect. So let me just grab them and I'll solo them out. Another way to do that type of effect. So you can kind of see I have it highlighted so you can see them zooming in, is you can also do an iris, and that's a little bit quicker. The zoom is zooming in so it's brighter and then it kind of dims out, whereas an iris, it's going to stay the same intensity, but it's just going to kind of open and close that, and it just looks really fun. So those are some phasers that I lean on when I got to be a little bit different. If I'm kind of realizing I'm doing the same thing over and over again. I really like this position, this like kind of fanned out and down. It looks really nice. Looks really fun. Gotta look at that a little. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it's supposed to do that. It is supposed to do that. And that position looks really fun too. So on some of these wide shots with camera 3 in the back, these look really nice. The AC, I believe the HVAC has kicked on, so the haze is starting to distribute a little bit more. Just making these beams look nice. Tag, nice, and at the end, great. So something that we'll also focus on. So when we go to from New Thing Coming into I Was But God, which there is a tag for Do It Again. So we'll have to feel that out tomorrow and see what the band is going to do. But what I can control is the transition from New Thing Coming into I Was But God, and that transition looked really great. I'm not going to go through all of them right now, because this video is getting a little lengthy. But yeah, that's just a little bit of little programming sesh for Weekender. So really, you kind of got a live look into the process. So I talked through, I have a process that is invest in the look, color, and then support the song. So the investing in the look piece, that's making sure all of like your positions are dialed in, your intensities are looking good, and that your overall look, the foundation of each cue, the look of each cue is dialed, is as best as it possibly can. So it's like, am I using gobos? Am I using prism? Am I zooming it in? Am I zooming it out? Is it too bright? Is it not bright enough? And you're not thinking about phasers. You're not thinking about dynamics or anything like that. In terms of you are thinking about dynamics, but you're not thinking about it through the lens of using phasers to create those dynamics. You're looking at it through the lens of, okay, I can point them out and then it's done. But also like, okay, I can point them out, but then I can rotate my gobos. So you kind of got a little bit of a live look into like just what my brain is doing when I'm programming. And then color is like, you gotta look at visuals, so that makes sense, but also like trying to make everything look cohesive, making sure everything, it's not all jumbled up. So what we saw today is not going to be the final product. We're definitely going to make some more tweaks, match it to visuals, because the visual has a ton of color. going monochromatic might make sense because it's going to look too busy if you have too much color going on. And then we kind of got into the effects, like the phasers, and creating dynamics that way. So there's multiple ways to do it, but that is the order that I follow that has worked really well in order for me to kind of like organize my thoughts and go like, okay, I want to jump here, and do all this. Like, no, let's go fixture by fixture, one at a time, make sure everything's looking good, and then we're going to add in the fun stuff. And that's just the way that I've learned just to stay disciplined and make sure that I'm being productive when I'm behind the console. Just like a kind of an aside, I think it was 2 weekends ago, we did a brand new song. I walked in on Sunday morning because I hadn't looked at Planning Center. There's a brand new song on Sunday morning, and it was Sons of Sunday release, and I forget the name of the song, but I programmed it that morning. And so I had like 30, I think I put like 45 minutes into it and trying to get it and I just worked like the way I'm able to like quickly get something that I know looks good for broadcast. I know it's going to look good for Sunday morning. I know it's going to be functional, but also kind of be fun as well. Is I kind of get the meat and potatoes done as fast as I possibly can. And then I can spend and invest time in like fun, like dimmer effects or maybe zoom effects or something like that. So that's just a lot of, anyway. I hope this was helpful, and that you can learn something from it. If you have some helpful tips on how to make this go faster, I'm always down to create efficiencies and be faster at programming. But thanks everybody.